A critical error is an error which the OS cannot reasonably ignore. Jake Steinberg is a streamer, writer, and certified yapper. Complimentary. Peter Hunt Szpytek is a YouTuber, journalist, and certified yapper. Derogatory. These are the things they cannot reasonably ignore.
Breaking! Jake! Come on, pay attention.
Okay, I'm ready.
There was a Nintendo third-party partner direct today.
Right. Partner showcase.
Thing one, did you watch it? It's a trick question. I know the answer. Thing two, I also watched it. Thing three, I think it's crazy the way that people have been covering this. And it's not everyone, but I have seen a handful of, I don't even like prominent, maybe is the wrong word, just like notable, like Nintendo YouTube people, podcast people, whatever, kind of phoning it in a little bit.
Whoa.
And like people are posting, and I know you've seen it. Like, for the camera, Jake, have you noticed? I ask on our very planned show. Have you noticed that like there have been a handful of these like reactions or like predictions that go up, and they're like canned, so they're all talking about like things that aren't happening because people thought it was going to be like a first party, like a regular Nintendo Direct, and then it was announced because they're like rumored that it was happening, and then now it's like a third party one, but they didn't change their content at all, so it's just them talking about like. I'm really excited for Kirby Air Riders. Have you seen this?
Peter, I heard an expression once.
Yes, please.
About sex and intimacy.
Oh.
And that expression was, sex starts the last time sex ends.
Well, I'm not married, so I don't know about that yet.
Okay, wow,
that's really looking forward to it.
And I think,
what do you mean by that?
And I think this is how I feel about Nintendo Directs. Nintendo Direct, you said that there was a Nintendo Direct today. There was a partner showcase today.
Certainly.
But I feel that the Nintendo Direct actually begins long before the presentation is even announced. We are trapped in an ongoing performance, online and off, that is always in conversation with a supposed ideal expected Nintendo Direct. It starts from the rumors. It starts from the speculation. It starts from super fans looking at the release calendar, trying to figure out what fits in where. It has to do with what we want from the next Direct, what we want to see. Our conversations are so focused on these marketing arms more so than they are on talking about any actual game. So I've been living this Nintendo Direct, this partner showcase for a month, and guess what happened? It's not the Direct that everybody wants. It is a third-party focused showcase. I think a good one, but because we built it up for so long, because we are trapped in this performance of what we want the next Nintendo Direct to be, when something like this hits, we cannot appreciate for what it is. We can't even interrogate what it is. We are instead reviewing the absence of what we think we should have had.
That's the thing. It's like people have built this up in their heads for so long based on like leaks or just like generally what they want out of this, that when it is not this fictional thing that it never was, they're like, well, I'm pretty disappointed. And like, I think that's so interesting because like, are you disappointed that it's not the thing you wanted, or are you disappointed with what it actually was? Because I think if you're disappointed with what it actually was, I do think that's fair. Like for me, in watching this, like there wasn't a whole ton in this Direct that like was like stuff that I'm particularly interested in. You know, I know a lot of people are like really excited about like the new Katamari Damacy game. That's great. This is just not a game series that I'm particularly interested in. You know what I mean? Or like they revealed those 2 Square Enix games at the end, and I was like, cool, I'm not going to play these. But for the people who are watching it, that's awesome. For me, it was a bit of a letdown. Not a letdown. I guess I didn't even really like expect much. But like, it was not a great showcase for me. But it wasn't a bad showcase because I was expecting there to be like Kirby Air Riders and Metroid and also whatever. Does that kind of make sense? You know what I'm getting at?
The word expectations. Yeah. I love that you used that word because I feel that that word is often weaponized in discussions about Nintendo Directs online. People talk about, oh, your appreciation of a Nintendo Direct is directly related to the expectations that you enter into it, as if these things have no qualities that can be judged on their own. And I think what bothers me is that when we talk about Nintendo Directs or any of these digital showcases that any company does, I feel that people grade them. They assign numbers to them. They talk about whether or not they're good or bad. And I have no clear understanding of what the rubric is that we are grading these things on, other than I feel that it has nothing to do with the presentation itself and entirely to do with, do I feel there was a good ratio of games I liked and was interested in to not? And the only reason that we're judging them is because they're being packaged together as such.
Yeah.
You don't like nobody's grading trailers when a trailer drops, but we are grading these collections of trailers. And I think what's weird is that I would always love if the actual format of the presentation, the order of games showed how they're being, like how much time something gets, if these were considerations that people put in when they were saying, was this a good way to show off these games? But instead, I think people just kind of look at the press release of all the games that were in the showcase and can grade it based off of that. They can grade the showcase without watching it, just based on what was revealed in it. Does this? Yeah.
No, 100%. Because it's like, okay, like marketing isn't art, right? Like,
cool.
Like a trailer isn't art, right?
Right.
But trailers do evoke an emotion, right? And the way that they're presented does evoke something. And so, like, exactly what you're saying, like how they are presented and like the flow of a showcase like this, I think is important. It was what, like 25 minutes? To me, it felt pretty quick, even though it was stuff again that I don't really care about. Just Dance 2026. I don't really care about Octopath Zero or whatever it was called. Like, but I don't know. Like, they kept things quick. It was interesting. I saw a bunch of stuff I don't really care about, but it wasn't like bad because of that. It just meant I went like, okay, whatever. I move on, you know?
I really liked the turn at the end, by the way, from that new HD 2D action game, The Adventures of Elliot.
Yeah, I thought that was
because
kinda
you see it at first, and your first instinct is like, oh, it's that style. It's like a new Octopath game, and then it's not.
Yeah.
And then at the very end, like the one more thing is like, oh, also there's this new kind of smaller Octopath game. And I thought that was a good like way of doing that bit of storytelling, because The Adventures of Elliot was the most exciting game. So I think most people would say, oh, that should be the last thing.
Yeah.
But the fact that they were like, no, here's this big chunky trailer that totally shows off this game, and then here's this little one more thing, that felt nice as a viewing experience to me. But getting away from our point here, I think that I've been observing this thing happening, and I think that there are two main things going on right now that we are most interested in. One is, in the lead up to this presentation, there were people uploading their predictions for what was going to be in this presentation, and I found that more like several of these videos were making predictions based on this being a full Nintendo Direct, not a partner showcase. And it gave the impression that, like, this is what I'm saying. We are living in the Nintendo Direct zeitgeist before it's even announced. And producing this content that is literally unconcerned with what it is we are actually doing in real life.
And unconcerned with what is, like, possible. You know what I mean? Like people will say like, oh, like when's the last time a Nintendo Direct had a Mario and a Zelda and a Splatoon and a Donkey Kong? You know what I mean? Like and Metroid and like all of these things. It doesn't, because that's just not how they roll. And that's not how any showcase is anymore, because like you know, we have strayed away from like a once a year type showcase where like I think it was like Sony's like 2019 E3 showcase or something like that was like The Last of Us and Ghost of Tsushima and this and this and this, and it's like unfathomably good because it's all of the biggest stuff. But now if you were to have those same announcements, those would be dropped over the course of, you know, a year.
Yeah.
And so like because over like, you know, 3 or 4 different like discrete showcases, and those showcases are all going to be a little bit more disappointing because there's just smaller like announcements because they're just not a big collection, right? And so like, when is the last time that a Nintendo Direct, even like a proper Nintendo Direct, had the laundry list of every single thing that everyone wanted to see? And it never happens. Like that, the most recent one before all the Switch 2 like announcement stuff. Was that the one that had Tomodachi Life?
There was a Nintendo Switch 1 focused Direct before the Nintendo Switch 2 one,
Yes, and I saw a lot of people like upset about it.
Right.
And I'm like, I think it's cool. I think it's cool that also like with this Direct, like what is this Direct saying? It is saying like Nintendo is interested in still continuing to make games for the people who bought Switches and are not going to adopt the Switch 2. Even though a lot of people did, right? But like, I think it's cool. And I think the fact that it's not Mario and Zelda and Metroid and whatever, people are like, well, this sucks. It's like, no, I think this is kind of an interesting thing.
So today in the aftermath, I've been also seeing the reactions to this partner showcase. And
Yes.
I've noticed that they are largely aggressively negative. And
Yeah.
I've started to kind of ask this question, like, what is it that this like online person, this maybe self-described Nintendo fan, wants out of these presentations? And I think I've actually figured something out. Maybe I think that the Nintendo fan feels important, and they want a presentation that confirms that they are important. So for example, putting all of those different PlayStation games in one presentation packaged for the viewing of this self-described PlayStation fan, I think makes them feel important because that product is being created for their attention more than trailers just being released over the course of a year. And I think that a Nintendo Direct, what people want is for a kind of event to function similarly to like a fan event, to like an in-person, like come try these demos. It's supposed to be empowering your relationship with the brand. So when there is a Nintendo Direct, it has the word Nintendo, it has the word Direct, even though the next two words are partner showcase. I think people want to feel empowered as a Nintendo fan. And obviously there is friction there with third-party games that have a tenuous connection with the Nintendo brand themselves, just by definition. So there is this like immediate negative reaction because it's not making them feel important as a fan of the Nintendo brand and console.
Because it's like, no matter what, this is going to be a letdown. Because it just isn't this thing that you want it to be. It reminds me a lot too of like, I don't know when the last time they did like a third party showcase was. They do a lot of those like indie world showcases. You know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. And I, for the life of me, do not understand why people go in with the expectations they have for those things. They are always smaller titles released by smaller teams, a lot of like debut titles, you know what I mean? That are not meant to be these like mind-blowing I mean, like, I'm not trying to be reductive for the games that are shown off there. I like watching those showcases because I usually find games that I actually really want to play in those like indie showcases.
Of course, the whole point is that it is a platform for smaller games to raise awareness. And like, you know, there are indie games like Cadence of Hyrule that people constantly point to, which was a collaborate. I guess I didn't turn that off. Which is a collaboration between a indie studio, the Curse of the Necrodancer people, and a Nintendo IP, that being Zelda. And people, that game came out so many years ago at this point, but people constantly point to that and they say, I want to see more collaborations like that. And I'm like, because it makes you feel important as a Nintendo fan. It gives you a way to relate to something that is in the language of something that you already like and enjoy and consider part of your identity. And
and like, it's this question of like, does it like, is Crypt of the Necrodancer good without the Cadence of Hyrule stuff? And the answer is yes. But
of course,
a lot of people, and of course, like, this is what like having a like, I'm not necessarily saying this is bad, but like, of course, that got so many more eyes on it from people who would have never looked at it before. And again, that's not a bad thing, but then like, are those same people who played it because it was the Zelda thing also playing Rift of the Necrodancer, which is their follow-up? And I think the answer is me. I mean, like, I'm sure like some people like converted to to fans of it, whatever, but I'm going to say like largely no. But like, when people watch those like indie showcases, like their expectations are like so high. Everyone's like, this is when Hollow Knight Silksong is going to be, we're finally going to get more. And I'm like, guys, Hollow Knight Silksong is not going to be at one of these small, tiny showcases, because exactly what you're saying, like the point of these showcases is to say like, hey, here's some smaller indie titles that we want to highlight. And it's like, okay, also let's completely overshadow all of them. Let's completely make the conversation not about any of the things we want to show and just make it all about this one specific game that people are losing their minds over.
And I do think that this is most apparent in these Nintendo branded showcases, because I think out of all the video game brands, the sense of Nintendo, the brand identity is strongest amongst Nintendo, right? So I think you have more people who have these machines, who have their Switches, who have their Switch 2s, who frankly are immediately disinterested in any video game experience they could possibly have unless it features a first-party Nintendo character. And And I know that I think it's kind of like an easy position to be like, oh, you shouldn't be like that. You should be open, blah, blah, blah. I don't really care. If that's what you're into, if you only want to play Nintendo first party games, that is completely
There's nothing wrong with that.
That's completely fine. I think maybe like weaponizing that position as one that like advertising should be concerned with, like partner showcases should not exist because that is your position. Like, I think that's weird.
Yeah, it's this thing where like if you only play Nintendo, like first party Nintendo games, or like even let's say like first party PlayStation or Xbox, whatever. If you're like one of those people, that's fine. Like that's totally fine. If that's how you want to engage with games, that's like a perfectly valid way to do it. I personally think you're missing out on a lot, but whatever. That said, you can't then also be the person who's saying like, well, this third party Nintendo showcase kind of sucked. It's like, well, okay, well, of course it did for you.
Yeah.
Because you don't give a fuck about these. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I kind of think that's something that the Nintendo fan maybe needs to reckon with, is that like all of these games exist or don't exist and will come out regardless of when we see a trailer for them.
Yeah.
And how important is it that I know the release date for Kirby Air Riders 6 months in advance as opposed to 2 months in advance?
Yeah, I kind of don't put any stock into release dates anymore. I mean, a lot of studios have just stopped doing them like far out, which I appreciate because it just means like we're not getting like delay. You know what I mean? Because they're just like being a little bit more coy about it.
Yeah.
Because it's exactly what you're saying. Like it kind of doesn't matter to me.
As long as you tell me 2 weeks before the game is out, nothing changes.
Yeah.
So, there's something about that discourse that I feel like everybody gets so caught up in it, and we don't ever like take a step back and go, okay, but like once the release date is announced, every single thing we said about theorizing about the release date is just like noise. It was like, what were we even? I don't know. Did that do anything for anybody? Like, who cares?
I mean, and like, there is a certain point about this where I'm like, I do understand why they do this, right? Because like, if you take what we're saying to like the extreme,
okay,
we eventually get to saying like, why even do trailers at all? Why even do these at all? Right? Like, and that's obviously not what we're saying. It's more about just like the way we talk about these things is so odd, where it's like why is the emphasis put solely on like, well, if we don't get the release date for Kirby Air Riders at this next direct, like, it's kind of a waste. And it's like, it's not. It's like so not. And also like there's other stuff there that like, I don't know, open your heart to video games, I suppose. like, you know?
Yeah, I think the thing that is tough about it is that it feels like an evergreen conversation that could be applied to any game in any era at any time.
Yeah.
You're just kind of saying the same thing every year and putting in a new title of a game. And I don't know, man, it just feels circular in a way that's weird and pointless, and so pointless to the point that we have content creators putting up.
This is the thing I actually wanted to talk about even more.
Yeah,
Go on.
Yeah, we have content creators saying, okay, there are rumors of a Nintendo Direct coming up, and the whole rumor thing, why does it matter that somebody tells us a week in advance that next week there's going to be a Nintendo Direct if Nintendo will tell us the day before? Like, it doesn't, I know that there's a Nintendo Direct 6 days early. That is so stupid. I don't like, there will be commercials for your games. And so, there will be, oh boy.
Well, because here's the thing, it's fun. Like, I'll say, like, it is fun to be excited about stuff. It is fun to be excited about stuff.
You're right, it is, yeah.
But it is this weird thing about, like, do you ever, this is maybe a new thing. I don't follow the like film industry as much as I follow like the games industry and stuff. But like, do you ever see those like it'll be like just on Twitter and it'll be like a trailer for the teaser of a movie trailer? Where it'll be like
trailer for the yeah.
And then like you have 5-second teaser that'll be like in 3 days. Expect a trailer for Fantastic Four. I don't know. Like, I'm picking on that movie specifically. I don't know if they did that or not. But you know what I'm saying? Like, to me, those things are a little silly because I'm like, you're telling me to be excited about the idea of getting excited. Yeah. And it's like, or I can just be excited, you know, if we can get there.
And Peter, what is a Marvel, what is an MCU post-credit scene
Yeah,
Other
if not
than
just,
if not a promise that you will see a movie in the future produced by the
Yeah.
Disney Corporation.
yeah, 100%. And like that's kind of what it is, right? I think like leak culture is of in video games is like irritating, which I think it maybe is its own separate episode. But the idea then that like the thing that I think is kind of rough and in my opinion kind of not like dishonest. I guess I don't know exactly like the word to place on how I feel about this. So maybe this conversation is going to help me sort of put a point to it. But then when you like what we're saying, when you have like the content creators who are like, we have pre-recorded our discussion for this.
Yeah, a
And we are
predictions
gonna-
video about what
Yeah.
we think is going to be in the Nintendo Direct based on us thinking that it's going to be a normal Nintendo Direct next week.
And then now
before
that
they
it
announce
is
it. Yeah.
announced that it is not a normal Nintendo Direct and that it is a third party showcase, partner showcase, whatever you want to call it, that they are still gonna put that episode up without any kind of cuff or like admission of like, hey guys, we thought that this was gonna be one thing and it's not. Please enjoy our conversation. If that's something you're even interested in, or just like, I don't know, can it?
And
hey, sorry, we were wrong.
I think what sticks out to me about this is that there is an acknowledgement, I think, in if the conversation is valuable on its own, you could have posted that conversation immediately after recording it.
Right.
But you posted it when the Nintendo partner showcase was announced, which to me says that the top priority is about kind of like responding and being on top of the elusive algorithm of how these platforms work. And maybe that is a higher priority than like creating something interesting, worthwhile, or that people want to watch. I think I'm being a little like harsh in my language right here. And I for the record, I don't really care about any one group doing this specifically, but I do think that there is almost a culture around Nintendo Directs that has encouraged this, and also just the way that people that talk about these things and the stakes, and then like it just feels like it's just like in shitifying and getting more degenerate and more why are like asking somebody to watch a predictions video for a partner showcase in which you recorded it thinking that it was going to be a general Nintendo Direct feels bad.
Yeah, that's like to me what it is, and I agree with you. We're like, I'm not like speaking about anyone specifically, I suppose. Like I think I'm just like speaking about like in general, like this is just how this makes me feel. And how it makes me feel about like the thing that bothers me is it makes me feel like you look at your audience like they are not a part of the conversation too, a little bit. You know what I mean? That you're like, whatever, they'll just watch it.
Yeah.
Like, well, hold on. I don't like that. And I'm not saying that anyone actually feels that way, but that's the way it comes across to me. Where like, sure. I think if you were to like cuff it at the beginning with just like either just a bit of text or just like hey guys, producer version of me here, we were wrong, like this is our conversation, this is what we thought it was going to be, like enjoy this conversation, here's what it is, and like to actually just explain what happened. I think that to me just makes it feel a little bit better because you have like an actual like acknowledgement of like, hey, we were trying to do this, it's not what happened. You can still enjoy it, or if this isn't your thing, that's fine, you don't have to watch it, whatever. I think that helps make this feel better. Whereas like with so many of these things are just like thrown up to just be thrown up, it makes it feel like they're like, they're not going to notice. Who cares? Like that sucks. To me, that sucks. We're just trying to go off the SEO recognition of Nintendo Direct. And
I almost feel like just this cultivation of this culture in which you even record the discussion in advance before it is announced. That's what you spend your time doing, as opposed to I don't know. There's something about the way that this is, I think, encouraged, and I think it also speaks to, earlier I made a comment about how just kind of like the whole discourse around being victim to expectations, and like think about the expectations that have to exist for you to record a predictions video for something that has not been announced yet. That's a pretty solid set of expectations. And and I just am like, around this, like, this is what we're also like, is it really worth it to be like, so I don't know. There's really like I do think that's something we are underselling is that the experience of being a Nintendo fan and then getting mad at a partner showcase is a ritual that bonds Nintendo fans. That is part of the performance. They get something that you get something out of that. You get something out of making a video where you go, that presentation was not good. And then all of your YouTube comments are like, it was terrible. It was like, there is something about that being a bonding mechanism for people in this, I don't want to say online community because it's not a community, but this imagined community.
Well, it's the same thing like on like Reddit and whatever and like Twitter and everything. It's like the whole like, oh, Silksong didn't get a trailer or whatever. And so like we're all going to bond over this thing.
Great example.
But it's like it probably wasn't going to be here. You know what I mean? Like at this specific thing, like Yeah,
the Silksong thing is such a funny conversation because I do think that is kind of speaking really well to how the discourse about something can get so far removed from the thing it's about that it almost just ends up, it has nothing to do with it anymore. And like, you know, Hollow Knight was one of these games that was kind of like a slow burn. It started out, it was on PC. It was kind of flying under the radar. People in the know that like the genre were like kind of all about it, but it didn't really hit the mainstream until it was released on Switch, I think. And then pretty long,
like a shadow drop, wasn't it?
Probably. And then even long after that, it took a while for that reputation to kind of blossom to where it is now. And I think in some ways, the endless not talking about Silksong has really kind of helped the profile of that game. Because, frankly, like I'm kind of that style of Metroidvania. What's great about that game is not really loud. It does not announce itself. What's great about that game is kind of a quieter experience and artistry that you get, you know, that you are close to when you actually play it. But like if you were to watch, if I show you a trailer for Hollow Knight Silksong and I like pull my wife aside and I go, hey, this is one of the people are dying for this. She'd be like, what?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's so it is like this weird thing where it's like the second you're playing Hollow Knight Silksong, you're not going to be hit with like, I'm overwhelmed by how sick this is. Like it's gonna be something that you like have to appreciate. You have to be an appreciator of it. And I almost think that the way that we talk about Silksong now, it's about like a game that isn't the game that it is. It's about like its existence is what's important.
This is how I feel about Silksong, but also like Nintendo and a lot of like the like culture around like game announcements in general.
Okay,
where it's like, okay, you know, people talking about like let's talk about Hollow Knight. It's not that I don't believe that those people don't like Hollow Knight. Of course they like Hollow Knight.
Of course.
But also they like this part of the community that is completely removed from the video game. And that's about like the expectation and disappointment that Hollow Knight is not at these showcases. In the same way that like, okay, people are really excited for Metroid Prime 4.
Right.
But is it that they're excited about the game coming out, or is it that they're excited that we are getting more information about it? Because that's also exciting. And there's nuance there, right? Like it's both. It's both.
Yeah.
It's not that these people are like faking being excited about this video game, but there is like an excitement and a fun to the actual like enjoyment of like getting information and trailers and stuff like that is completely removed from actually enjoying the video game.
And I also do think it's a bit of an in-group out-group thing because for example, I watched the presentation this morning with another channel. I was on their stream and they are a Pokemon focused YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. And like the guys that were on this stream pretty much don't play any video games other than Pokemon. Sure. So it's a very specific perspective that you're getting there. And at the end of it, I was surprised. One of the co-hosts said, "Oh, I'm disappointed that we didn't get Silksong." And I was like, whoa. And it made me, and I didn't get to ask because the conversation flew by too quick, but I wanted to ask like, oh, are you like a big fan of Hollow Knight?
Right.
Because from what I know, there's not a lot of extraneous game playing happening here, or is it simply that you know that this is like a thing,
a moment
we're supposed to talk about? In a weird way, it's like part of the script. It's part of the expectations that you have in this community. So you know that it's part of your citizenship in this community to be concerned with Hollow Knight Silksong.
But I also wonder, like with Hollow Knight, and then with directs in general, like so much of it is like these things are built up over years and years and years of excitement, and it's like when this game comes out, like I don't know if it's going to live up.
I don't think it can because of the kind of game it is. It could be a 10 out of 10 Metroidvania, but I don't think that it is a. I have a hard time imagining how this can justify the amount of like social media attention it's gotten.
Or like, okay, so when Metroid Prime 4 eventually comes out, right? People have been talking about this game for a decade.
Yeah, fake game if you ask me, but yeah.
Right? Like people have been talking about this for so long.
Yeah.
And that's not to say it's bad, but it is like, I am wondering though, like, okay, the people who like are watching these directs and saying like, well, it's bad if like it's a bad showcase if Metroid isn't there. Okay, when this game comes out and is maybe kind of like a subdued, like vibe based, like game like that, like, are they going to be like it absolutely met expectations? If it is not this, because like there's this like the hype culture, right? And if it's not a game that's like interested in being hype, like is it going to be able to meet those expectations? And I think the answer is probably not, right?
And I like this comparison because I think similarly, Metroid is a franchise that over time it has been allowed to calcify into a game that like real gamers like and appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
It has been able to kind of grow this reputation as like, oh yeah, everybody plays all those mainstream Nintendo games, but do you know there used to be this game, this franchise? Yeah. There's stuff in here. There's like you got to be a real gamer to appreciate what's happening in this franchise. And I think I was surprised how like relative to a lot of other Nintendo franchises, the Metroid series has never been like that super mass appeal, like a big seller. It's like none of those things. And then I think that we kind of pretend that. Like, if you like Metroid, aren't you... Okay, here's what it is. When a new Metroid Prime 4 trailer comes out, there's been, like, a couple so far.
Yeah.
The most popular reaction I see to it is, it's exactly what I want. It looks like more Metroid. It looks like it's exactly what Metroid Prime fans want. It's a known quantity almost. It's this kind of game. It is in the spirit of these games that we have not been able to play for a long time. But isn't that an acknowledgement that this is a game built for and will be appreciated by a relatively smaller group of people if it is made in the image of games that did that in the past?
Yeah, and it's also interesting too because like and this is just like how it goes with like hype culture in general, and like we're talking about like Metroid specifically, so like this extends outside of just Metroid, right?
Of course.
Like any morsel of information is the most incredible revolutionary thing ever. Like when they announced that she's going to be able to use her hand to open doors, which like I felt like I was in the Upside Down. Do you know what I mean? I was like,
this made me so mad because I feel something that I try to communicate to people, but people have a hard time understanding. And I'm going to try to explain it to you now, and we'll see. This is a little test.
Please.
That demonstration of the telekinetic abilities in Metroid Prime 4, it did not demonstrate to me why the abilities had to be telekinetic, other than that's what they decided. It felt like that is something that you do in every video game, but they dressed it up with an aesthetic and they said this is important to the game. But I didn't get a understanding of how injecting these abilities into a Metroid Prime game changes how a Metroid Prime game functions and what it's capable of.
Yes, because they didn't show it, right? Like they didn't show why that's important. Right. They said I don't remember. There were two things. It was like, or maybe like three things, and it was like opening doors. It was like interacting with things. I think like it was so.
It's like I think maybe one of your shots can like home, but it's like, but we've seen versions of this in other games where the power is not telekinetic. So like, what about like what are we doing here? And you know, it's a shame. I played Metroid Prime at 4 at that hands-on event, and we didn't even. It's before you even get the power, so I don't even.
Could she open doors then?
I did have to open it. I did have to open a door. There was a point where
and you just walk through it.
Yeah, there were like I was using mouse mode, which was kind of fun. And it was like, you target the 3 little balls and you go boom, 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 and then the door opens. Yeah,
that's fun.
Yeah,
but like exactly what like this is though, like hey, that's kind of underwhelming, guys. Like,
right.
Like, hey, I'm not trying to, rain on the parade. I get that we're excited for this thing.
It's back.
That's what we're like losing kind of our minds over, that she has the ability to open doors with her hands. And by like hand singular, I guess, because it's like just on the back of her thing.
And you almost have to assume that like I've seen the responses to this whenever I critique stuff. It's like, well, Jake, they didn't want to show it all. They're gonna show it in a future trailer, and I'm always like, yeah, but I gotta
I watched the trailer just now, but like,
I know it's like that doesn't make this one better.
No,
that doesn't. Yeah, so it's just like a tough conversation to have, and I do feel like there is almost this like quality of things that are exciting that you're zoning in on here. It's like, oh, this new detail about this game. Whenever we get a new detail about a Nintendo first party game, however small it is, there is a presumption of hype in that detail because it is a detail about a Nintendo first party game.
Yes.
And
this is like assumption that thing is going to be good no matter what.
Yes, and I think that there is the presumption of hype, the hype as a tangible pattern that we recognize, the things that we have given that quality to, is not present in a partner showcase. So it's this weird thing where it's predetermined. It's like yeah.
And for me, because I'm not someone who's like particularly interested in hype. You know what I mean? Like there are some things where like if they're like, hey, we're doing Alan Wake 3, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna lose my shit. But like generally, like I am largely kind of removed from that. And that's like I understand that people like it because that's a way that they get to enjoy fandom and stuff like that. So it's not a judgment on people like that. I'm just saying from my experience.
Right.
But the things that like hype me up about like upcoming games are so rarely the things that actually like people like actually like latch onto. So like, for example, when they revealed in one of the Tears of the Kingdom trailers, like, okay, you can like make stuff. I was like, well, I don't know how that's going to work. Like that seems, I don't know. And everyone's like really, really excited because I'm like, if you can just make stuff like that, seems like that's going to need to be a really robust system. And like, I'm like going through like all these things in my mind where I'm like, that is not inherently good because it might not work that well. And what really sold me was when they did that 15 minutes of, I think it was like Aonuma was like, I'm just going to play this. I'm just going to build a little thing. I'm going to get across the river using my whatever on a fan.
Little boat with a sail. Yeah.
It was cool. And that's what really excited me because I got to see that it worked and it wasn't just the idea, right? So like, you know, in Metroid Prime 4,
the feature. It wasn't just here are the features. It was a demonstration. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
When they show us that Metroid uses her hand to open, I'm hoping to rage bait engagement, Jake. This is how we make it big on YouTube. So when Metroid uses her hand to open the thing, like I don't know if that's exciting or cool or not yet because it's just like it's just a statement of like this happens.
But because it's a new thing in a long-awaited Metroid game, the fact that you don't immediately recognize that as exciting is a you problem. It is your position as a inadequate fan of Nintendo. That is that's crazy. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
She's been opening doors her whole life.
Yeah, that's true.
I've seen her do it a million times.
That's true. I've been there.
Show me how that's cool. Show me that is something worth being excited about. And like, you know, they might do a specific direct for it or like a showcase of, you know, like a gameplay deep dive, whatever they might. And that's great. And that is when I'm going to like, that's the thing I'm actually most interested in. Cause I'm like, this is actually what the game is and not just like a bunch of sort of like out of context little bits and pieces.
Yeah, man. So what do we do now?
I mean, like,
I feel like I got a lot off my chest today.
Yeah, me too. And I really want to like reiterate. I know we said this a few times. Like, I'm not like speaking specifically about anyone. I'm not trying to like, it's not a hate train on anyone. It's just this like frustration about the way that we talk about things and that it has to be hype. And if it's not hype, then it's bad.
I think sometimes I could do better at subduing my own energy that I bring to a conversation because I know the way that I talk, being the son of a Jewish man and a Latina immigrant, that there is oftentimes an aggression that is kind of interpreted in the way that I speak that I don't feel is there, but is just like part of, I think, my identity as a person. And I know sometimes when I'm talking about stuff like this, it's like, oh, Jake's getting heated. I'm like, no, dude, I just, this is just who I am.
It's just passion.
Like just passion. I got that dog in me, you know?
I would say you are someone who has that dog in them.
Oh man. But sometimes I
don't know. That's interesting that you say that because like I don't get that from you. I just get that you are someone who cares about things and like is interested in like actually like dissecting and talking about them.
I think we can always do better. And I think like, you know, it's hard sometimes to like hold the mirror up at something I like about this show is when I tell people is, I say we're interested in games and we're also interested in the culture around games, the way that we talk about games. And I think that sometimes like holding this mirror up is something that can feel like an attack. It can feel
Yeah.
it can feel like, hey, work is hard. I've got all of these systems around me that are not helping me do good work. How could you take a shot at me? But like at the end of the day, I think that like introspection and reflection is good. And anytime you do anything that's even like remotely artistic or in some kind of, I apply this to my students a lot, in kind of like an academic pursuit, I think that there is a degree to which, like, if you read Jane Austen, if you read Pride and Prejudice in school, do the assignment, write the essay, get your grade, and then after it's over, it is so worthwhile to then reflect on what you thought of that experience.
Yeah.
What did you think of the book? What did you think of the assignment? Did you think that that was what did you think of the fact that that was the assignment that your teacher gave you for that book? And just like that kind of reflection will make a more nuanced, more critical perspective.
Yeah.
And I think a wider lens when you think about anything. Reflection is so important. So
I agree.
Yeah,
because this isn't like an indictment, if I'm using that properly, I think, of like people who are like interested in hype and being excited about video games. I love being excited about video games. I love that kind of stuff. But I think it's about like the way it is like pointed at people. And if you are not also a part of that hype train, then you are bad. And that you, like you said, you're not the right kind of Nintendo fan. It's like, no, I'm just like interested in talking about these things.
And I think it is easy to weaponize that against people, right? Because if you are on top of the YouTube algorithm and you are a big Nintendo content creator and you have a lot of subscribers, you have a lot of followers, I think it's like really easy for that person to maybe look at other people and say, how could you criticize me?
Right.
Look at all my success. And look at you know, the fact that you don't have any success. I'm
the biggest Nintendo fan.
Yeah, exactly. How could you say that I'm doing something wrong?
I'm a big Nintendo.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like,
that's nice.
It's cool. It's fun. But like,
I've got a
it's exactly what you're saying
there.
I was gonna say, you've got the Psyduck. Have you got the piranha plant? I think, or is that from?
That's a piranha plant. Yeah, he's actually a puppet. So one day I'll do the pod as
Oh, we should do a puppet pod.
Puppet pod would be good.
I'll find a puppet that I can do. But to your point, yes, 100%. Like it is this thing about like cosplaying as who is the biggest Nintendo fan. When it's like I don't know if we need to do it like that.
Of course.
I don't know if that's the way to do it.
Of course.
My camera, but
and it's funny. I think like every time a big Nintendo game comes around, there is kind of like a funny conversation about Donkey Kong Bonanza just came out, and I think you can go to the Metacritic for that game right now. It's probably well above 90, and many reviews are it's a 10 out of 10. This is the next great thing from Nintendo. And I really like the game. I'm enjoying the game like a lot, but I have criticisms of it. And I find that when I publicly criticize the game, there is this weird defensiveness where it's like, but Jake, everyone else said it was really good. So you must be coming at this from, you're trying to take it. You're not a real, you have ulterior motives is like the position. And it's really weird. There's something about this perspective that I think because you are encouraged to cultivate this kind of perspective, my channel is associated with being a fan of this product. Like nothing encourages you ever in any system to go against the grain. Nothing encourages you to be reflective and give the people what they want, as they say. So I don't know. Just like, trying to think about this stuff. Yeah.
I just also think it's like I can love something and have criticisms of it.
Of course.
Or like the conversation surrounding something that I like doesn't have to be just like exclusively positive.
Yeah.
And not that it's negative, but that it's we're just having a conversation about like all parts of it, and to know all parts of it. Like sometimes there are things about it that I either don't like or don't work or are underwhelming or whatever. That doesn't mean it's like bad. I mean, it can be if what you're talking about is bad, but like
Peter, if I listen to a video game podcast in which people are sharing their favorite games of all time, maybe their top 5, their top 10, and then I listen to another video game podcast where people are sharing their favorite games of all time, I think you will find more often than not that there are repeat entries between disparate people for their favorite games of all time. I think that there are games that are kind of in the video game canon as some of the best games of all time. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. Over time, we recognize that these are the ones that kind of rose to the top. There are games that always come up in these conversations.
Yeah.
If that is the case, how can we so often, so many times, on any given year refer to games as some of the best games ever made.
Dude,
What is happening here?
That
because
is
those games are not breaking into those lists. So
Yes.
there must be a quality that differentiates some of these new greatest games of all 10 out of 10s with these all-time greats. And I just think that's like, do you kind of get what I'm saying here? Yeah.
Do I get what you're saying here,
Okay.
Jake Steinberg? Yes.
Yeah.
What I'm doing right now is I'm going to say, can it, friend?
Okay. Oh.
That is its own.
All right.
That is an episode that we're going to talk about, and we just have to wait until the right game comes out, and that is the thing that people are saying. I mean, it'll be next week. It happens every single week.
Say no more. Say no more.
Yeah.
I've got a little piece I'd love to share here.
I would love to hear what you've written for me.
Great. Okay. I'm just gonna get right into it. In the interest of transparency, as mentioned last week, I did try to make this a little more micro.
Bite size. Okay.
Yes. Handheld gaming is dead. No, it's not. You cry. Jake, you don't know what you're talking about. Fuck you, Jake. I'm mad at you. The Switch exists. The Steam Deck exists. I have a portable emulation console. I play my Switch in bed. I never dock it. Yes, you are correct. Thank you. Thank you. The handheld format is indeed alive. But what I'm saying is the handheld spirit is gone. The kind of game made for a handheld. Short bursts, smaller stakes, strange little interpretations of something made for a more powerful device. All of that is gone. Once handheld games were made with less money and more imagination. Games that knew you would play for 10 minutes on a bus. Games that were not trying to look like a console game, but worse. And these games were less expensive. We pursued instead a dream. Console gaming on the go, which sounds like a cool dream. Until you realize it is all subtraction. That console game on the go, it's a smaller screen, fewer frames, text that does not read quite right. It is a portmanteau of another. Handhelds used to be without a comparison, and they used to be yours. That green Game Boy Advance, that was a you thing. You picked it. You picked that machine, just like you picked Pokemon Red or Blue. My memories of those games are tied to places, under covers, at the furniture store, in the car on long drives where I don't know where we're going, but I know I have a Psyduck. Now, the device is just a screen. It is another smart rectangle in your life. What is actually yours is the account you log into. You do not have a relationship with one of several tablets currently in your house. It is just a way to get to a game. And that game is a console game. You access the portal because handheld gaming is dead.
Jake, this is a good take. And this is a good take in a way that I think a lot of people would push back on. I mean, as you sort of said, like there at the beginning, because I mean, I think it's just so right that like games that were handheld were like smaller and made for handhelds. And then like the idea of like, oh, it would be so cool to bring, you know, whatever I'm playing on the go with me. I want to play Control on my Steam Deck. That's awesome. Control, like I think you need to sit down with at least for an hour. Do you have an hour? You know what I mean? Like I think a lot of games, like console games and things like that, are made to have like an hour of your attention minimum. And like that is not usually what you have when you are doing something that is handheld. And also, if I may, and then I want to hear more of what you think about this, like the Switch is handheld in that I can hold it in my hands, yes. I think anything that needs a carrying case is not a handheld. And, you know, of course, I had a carrying case for my Game Boy Advance SP, right? You know what I mean? That had like a bunch of like slots for different games and stuff. That was fine. I had a carrying case for my DS, but I didn't need it. And also the carrying case was like this big and held 9 games. Whereas if I have to get one for the Switch, it's like I need a backpack. That is going to backpack. That is not like a on the go type sitch. Jake, more. What do you think?
The relationship you have to it is completely different.
Yeah, it is.
And I think when you talk about playing Control on a handheld, yeah, you can do that, and that is cool. But do we not agree that Control is made with a perspective aimed towards a kind of cinematic nature?
Yeah.
And that cinematic nature is maybe not best articulated when playing on a handheld as opposed to playing in a more cinematic setting, like on a TV or big screen.
Yeah.
So I think that like the ability to, you could watch Interstellar on your
I was
iPod.
literally just about to say this is like Christopher Nolan saying that you or whoever it was can't watch his films on the phone screens, because he's right and he's wrong. But go on, more. Tell me more.
And I don't think that like these are okay. So I think the medium through which you experience a video game is like part of the video game. And I think that there is something about when I bring up Pokemon in this essay, Pokemon, like, I think part of that game is that it is in your pocket. And I think that is
you play it while you're on an adventure.
Yes.
Like,
and it goes with you.
Yes.
And like, man, I don't know. There is something about like if you put Pokemon Red and Blue on the Nintendo Switch Online emulation service and you can play it on your Switch, that is not the same as playing it on your Game Boy and having it in your pocket and it going with you all over the place, and the discrete kind of like close nature you have with that device. Because I don't think that okay, here, I got something for you.
Yeah, please.
This and this are not that different.
No, not at all.
And I think that like because we have all of these things now, there is a degree to which it has eroded away at the kind of relationship that you can have with, the relationship I have with my phone to my iPad to my Switch 2. It's about what I can access through that thing. It's not necessarily about the thing. Whereas like if I pick up this is different. I have a different relationship with this.
Yes.
And the way that this is encouraging me to put this in my pocket, take it with me. Like, it doesn't need a case. It doesn't, like, I don't know, man. There is something about the way that this calls out to you and demands a special kind of relationship to it. I have a custom cover on this thing. This is like,
it looks so good.
Dude. Yeah.
I think what you're saying here is like really like, do you know this whole like Xbox's brand thing right now about like everything is in Xbox?
Jesus Christ,
and I'm
dude.
like, and I'm like sitting there like, should it be though?
No.
Should my washing machine be able to run Halo Master Chief Collection?
Maybe I should not have access to my entire Xbox library every second of every day.
Yeah.
Maybe I should only have access to it when I sit down to play a video game.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like why though? Like, what do I need? Like,
if I don't have my Xbox library on me, I'm
gonna lose my shit. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it's odd. It's like a comfort blanket when I don't like. You don't need that. You know what I mean? Like, whereas the idea of like handheld gaming is such a good like, just drop in, play a little bit of Advance Wars, or whatever. Like, and then you're good. And I think what you also said too is like those games looked different.
Yeah.
And I loved that. That
is such a big part of this
stuff.
too.
Yeah.
Because like nowadays a handheld game is a lower spec version of a console game. And it's not there's this lack of intention because it is kind of assumed to be lesser. And as opposed to its own thing with its own advantages. Yeah.
I always thought it was interesting that like the way that a game had to be like interpreted for to be a handheld game, where it would be like, okay, I remember. Okay, so it's funny. We talked earlier today about this Nickelodeon Dice of Destiny, whatever it's called, game. I had SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom on the Game Boy Advance.
Yes,
and that is a 2D platformer that
correct.
They made.
Yep.
And the GameCube version, which I didn't have, but I want it really bad, was like a 3D platformer.
Yep.
And it's completely different. But I think it's interesting that you had to have a team go like, okay, well, like this is what the main idea is. How do we translate that to different hardware with different specs and different whatever, while still kind of getting the right idea across. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's when a device is asking you to play it and relate to it in a different way, the game should similarly be asking you to relate to it in a different way.
Yeah.
Another good example of what you said with SpongeBob is there were like these Tony Hawk Pro Skater games that everybody knows.
Yeah.
And there was like a GBA version of one of these games that people always say is like a really competent, good video game, but it's like completely different from the ones everybody loves on PS2 or whatever.
Yeah.
And like that is there is something there that we have discarded, and now it's like, obviously I think there's a very common retort to what I'm saying, which is like, well, the new thing is that you play a game on your phone. And I think that's a little too easy. I'm like, guys, come on. Like there are not high, like the quality, the what I'm asking for is completely different. You know what I mean? It's like there's Mario Odyssey is a game that you can play on a handheld, but it's not made for a handheld the same way that Mario 3D Land is. Like don't like lie. Okay. I'm trying to have an honest conversation about the spirit of handheld games.
I love the idea of don't lie, because that's like exactly what so many conversations like this are.
Yeah.
Let me hit you with a mobile game recommendation. Kind of what you're talking about.
Oh, I want this.
Are you familiar with the game Pancake?
No.
All right. So this is what the game. I'm just going to hold this up. So
whoa. Okay.
I'm going to click on the Pancake game. It's called Pancake.
Pancake.
So I don't know like how well this is
I'm
like
seeing
showing
it.
up.
Yeah, I'm seeing it. Okay.
Basically, you hold down the button and you are just flipping pancakes. And
I mean, that's good. That's good, man.
The goal is to flip it as many times as possible, and it's very difficult.
Wow. What's your high score?
It gets tattooed on your character's arm. Every single time you get a new high score, and also like there's like different cosmetics for like, and you like shake it and the pancakes change whatever. My high score is 60.
All right, I'll get back to. We'll see next week.
But that's all the game is.
Yeah, right.
That's it. And it's not that like handheld games were not just that simple. Some of them were, but like that's not to say that all handheld games were these like simple things, whatever. Like I'm thinking about like the Legend of Zelda like Minish Cap. Like that was a cool full 2D Zelda game made by Capcom, which is no one talks about. We got to go back to that. But like that was interesting and it was a full thing, but also it was bite sized in that you could just play it on the go real quick.
Peter, I love chipping away at a long RPG on a handheld. These old Pokemons, these old Mario and Luigi games. It was really hard for me. Persona 4 Golden on the PlayStation Vita. That was my first Persona game. And then Persona 5 comes out and it's not available on a handheld device. It's only on consoles. And that was a really hard transition for me because I saw those games as handheld experiences.
Yes.
And then to like be asked to be married to my TV for so many hours and not kind of chip away. Yeah, like that.
Hey, pay attention. You got to sit down for this. Like, oh, please no. I need to like let me just like do a few classes and then I'll go.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
I mean? Like,
Yeah. It's like, man, there really is something that like, I don't know. I think if they ever came out with how they did like the Super Nintendo Classic system?
Yeah.
If they ever did one of those, but it was like a GBA, I think the mirror would shatter for people. I think they would go, oh my God, this is what Jake was talking about. We don't have this anymore. Yeah.
And it's interesting because like as the like Nintendo, like the 3DS was getting better and better. Like I remember I had this moment when I was in high school and because I'd kind of dropped out with gaming in high school. Yeah. Because I just like didn't have the time for it. Yeah. And my older brother had a 3DS. Like the XL, like the big, like the new 3DS XL. So he had like the most recent one, and he was playing whatever the Paper Mario game was on that.
Of course,
and
Sticker Star.
Was that it? Okay, and I was like, "Damn, that's a whole ass game." Do you know what I mean? Like I had this moment where I was like, "Whoa, you've got like a 3D camera and everything in it. Like, this is crazy." Like this looks like a console game. And little did I know that was the move when it was like, "We're just going to do this exclusively now."
Yeah.
And it does make sense because, like the technology is more portable and smaller and all that. But it's always interesting. Like this transition, I think, is kind of an interesting bet. And it's exactly what you're saying about this idea of like game on the go. But it's like not all these games are meant to be played on the go.
Yeah. And it's funny. There's almost this there's like a very obvious kind of capitalist incentive towards all of this, where instead of like making different games and games for different platforms or games within limitations, the ability to just be able to scale down any game so that it can be on any platform is obviously advantageous. So as games become more expensive and as our need to consistently make more profits goes up, it is not a coincidence that now we are in this era where we need to make sure games are made in a way that they can be played on the PlayStation 5 Pro and the Nintendo Switch. And so like I understand.
Without asking, like, all right, Cyberpunk, is that meant you can play it handheld on the go on the train? Like, is that like where you're gonna experience that best?
Right. Right. And like there is a degree to which just like being able to access that game at all is really cool. And
the flexibility is sick.
Of course. And there are a bunch of people who are going to play that Nintendo Switch 2 version and they're not even really gonna know. They're not even really gonna but it's this funny thing where it's like that game was made in an era where the Nintendo Switch 2 did not exist.
Yeah.
And it's almost like that is not part of the conversation anymore, whereas it once was.
For me, it's not that the flexibility of like the sort of like hybrid handheld stuff, or the the idea that like, okay, there's those new like Xbox ROG handheld things. Like, it's not that that's bad. It's that there's an absence of something now. Something is missing. You know what I mean?
Agree. It's subtraction, and it's very clearly these are console games that you are able to play for a couple of hours away from your TV. Like that's like very clearly what is happening. So
not that like, and that's fine. And I'm glad that people can, because like I love doing that. Like going for a flight. Like I'm glad because I'm sitting down for 3-4 hours. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, totally.
But like it is this thing where like the Switch is not in my like loadout for when I leave my house.
No, and I think even the Switch itself is almost made in the image of, even though it is a handheld, it's made in the image of the TV experience by virtue of the tabletop mode, which is kind of a simulation of playing a game on a TV. So yeah, it's a funny thing.
And also there's the idea of like Switch 2 bigger. Good.
Yeah.
But also
closer to TV.
Yes, like farther from the concept of let me just like grab this and run out real quick.
Yeah. Wow.
So there you go.
I guess that's the episode this week.
I think that is the episode this week.
Wow.
Nintendo heavy. Very Nintendo heavy.
Yeah, very Nintendo heavy. Covered a lot of ground, I think. And we had a really good bonus episode this week as well.
We did. Yeah. Here's a teaser. We've got like Patreon stuff that we're working on.
Yeah.
And I really liked our conversation.
I know, me too.
I sort of mentioned it. I was like, oh, we were talking about Nicktoons. Yeah. Or not Nicktoons. Nick.
No, that was it. It was like Nicktoons. Yeah, Nicktoons.
Yeah. And like, I was like, oh, but we don't actually have a. I think. How about this, Jake? Let's hold us. Let's hold ourselves accountable. Maybe next week.
Yeah.
That Patreon exists, and people will be able to listen to that conversation.
Love
that. Others like it because we have been recording other episodes. It's additional episodes.
Yeah, a lot of content for the fans.
But we also wanted to like make sure that like there was content before we were like, and money, please.
Yeah, if you're paying for something, you should get something.
You should have. There should be like.
Yeah, you should get some.
You should be like, oh, cool.
The
3 episodes or whatever.
Your payment information hits. You go, oh, I've just unlocked hours of content.
Yeah,
that's
literally
incredible.
Hours too. Yeah. So far.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
No, it's proper.
It's significant.
Yes, it's not false advertising. Hours, plural, multiple. Right. Yeah, that's it.
Cool. Peter, what's your favorite video game handheld of all time? Are you a PSP man? Are you a Vita man?
No. I was only ever Nintendo.
Okay.
I would either say the Game Boy Advance SP or the 3DS. I got a 3DS in college. This is true. I got a 3DS in college after my long-term girlfriend broke up with me, and I played a lot of it. A lot of it. It was like one of those, like, I went to a GameStop and I was like, that one.
Yeah.
And then I played a lot of like Animal Crossing New Leaf.
Love it.
Elena, when we first started dating, she was very into the idea of playing Animal Crossing. So I bought her a 3DS and whatever, got her Animal Crossing, whatever. And we played together and she was like, oh, you were sad. And I was like, yeah. Like she's like looking at all the stuff I did. She's like, wow, you put time in it.
You had a relationship with that handheld device. There was a closeness there.
Saved me. Playing
Damn.
under the covers? Yeah.
Guys, I love that.
What was your favorite handheld?
I gotta give it to just the normal DS, the first one. I've got one
Also
next to me
good.
right
Good
here.
pick.
It's a DSi LL,
Oh.
Japanese DSi XL. Really nice. Really just like exactly what I want from a DS.
The Picto
Oh,
chat, huh?
Oh my god, yeah. Well, listen, I was streaming Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Sky yesterday, one of my favorite games of all time,
Yeah.
and having the time of my life, man.
Can I say something about the DS2 real quick?
course.
And I know we're trying to wrap up here.
No, I know, but then it's gonna be great. Whenever there's a good end point, the screen will come and it will shock everyone. Yeah.
They figured out that this is good, but when you're trying to be like on the go, this is better. Do you know what I mean? Like that like the Switch is great because it's like this, and this is fun, and this is how you can play games. But like when it comes time to like, okay, time to put this in my, I love that you have like 9 DSs immediately available to you.
This isn't even this is a emulation device.
This is sick.
This is the Retroid Pocket Flip 2.
Oh, okay.
Which also understands that this is good.
Just like, okay, now it gets to be small.
And then pow.